Okay, so I'm gonna get started. This workshop is called Digital Organizing Tools. It is the fourth iteration of this workshop that I've done in about the last year. I did one for the Illinois Green Party, I did one for the Young Eco-Socialists, and I did one for the Coordinating Campaign Committee. Each one's been a little different, and I've kind of reorganized for this one as well. I guess I'll introduce myself first. My name is Chris Blankenhorn. I'm from Springfield, Illinois. I'm an educator by trade. I work with 3 to 6 year olds in a preschool. I'm a former GPUS co-chair from 2016 to 2018. I'm the secretary of the Illinois Green Party, and I am the vice chair of the Young Eco-Socialist Education Committee. We've been running the only education program in the party for the last 2 years. I'm also the co-chair with Dave right here of the GPUS Merchandise Committee. I'm an Illinois Green Party National Committee delegate, and I'm a member of the Howie Hawkins 2020 campaign team, doing some system stuff with them as well as social media. So I want to start off with kind of what this workshop isn't going to be. This workshop isn't going to be a detailed dive into any of these tools. This workshop, I call it the Gospel of Mike Dennis. So I served with Michael Dennis on the GPUS steering committee. They had to resign because they got a job at Nation Builder, so they could not maintain official party, leadership positions. But Mike was Jill Stein's systems coordinator in 2016 and came into the National Party and really started to drive systems before they left. And I've kind of picked up where they've left off. And like I said, I call this the Gospel of Mike Dennis because I've learned everything I know here from them. Not yet. So I actually want to start off with something I think we need to talk about as a party. And that's, what is a resource? What is a resource? Okay, so as a party, we're poor. We don't have all the money. It's often a problem when I have, ex-Democrats come in, is they're like, okay, well, how much money is the state party going to give me? I don't have money to give you. I don't. And so we as a poor party really need to think about what we are. Okay, so the main reason I wanted to do this workshop today is because we can get much more bang from our buck by building infrastructure as a party. Rather than giving someone $100, I can give you 3,000 text messages out to voters. I can give you a call system. I can run petitions for you that will build your list. And why it's important for the party to do this is because of the limited nature of campaigns. While there are certainly people who run essentially, constant campaigns from one to the next, campaigns generally have a limited lifespan. They start and they end. And so any infrastructure built during that is often abandoned, or at very least put away in the closet until the next run. Okay? So this is where the party comes in. The party can build this infrastructure. The party can help us. So what can we offer as a party as in terms of infrastructure? We can offer databases and contacts. If we're using Nation Builder, you can share that information and should share that information with your candidates with a data share agreement. Don't just go giving people your contacts. Dennis Kucinich made an offer from what I was told, made an offer to the main independent Green Party when he was running for president. Give me your lists to help the progressive movement, and when I'm done, I'll give you my lists. Dennis took the lists, gave them to the DNC, and gave the Greens nothing. Because they didn't have an agreement. So if you're gonna share your list with someone, get a basic data sharing agreement. It's really important. We can also offer phone banking systems like Call Hub, which we'll talk about later. It can do text blasts, it can do phone banking, it can do robocalls, that kind of thing. And the other thing tied in with that, we can offer experienced call center management And we can often offer experienced callers. So we can do training. We can offer organizing and project management spaces. Okay, so if you're a young green candidate, we use a project management app called Basecamp. And we can give you your own space for your campaign to organize in. So you're not lost in a sea of emails. You have a calendar and to-do lists and communication functions all in the same space. We can offer communication tools. We can offer things like live streaming services. These things that you can start you can start an account, but again then it'll die. So we can offer those things, and the same with web and graphic design stuff. So as a party, I think it's really important that we think about what a resource is. In Chicago, in the recent municipal elections last year, or this spring, we had 2 Chicago locals bankrupt themselves to give a few $100s to progressive candidates who honestly weren't going to win. It was a week or two before the election, and they sent them $200, and I don't know what the hell that $200 went to, because it's not my local, so I can't do the follow-up of what we got out of that investment, but they bankrupted themselves. And I don't know what they got for it. For $200, you could get thousands of minutes of calling. What's more valuable, $200 to your campaign or 1,000 hours of volunteers calling voters? To me, it's a no-brainer. I want those calls. I want those voter touches. Because the truth is, if we want someone to vote for us, we have to touch them. And it's generally 7 touches before a voter will vote for you, or a donor or a volunteer will become a donor. Okay, so that means we can't just hand someone the flyer one time. We then have to follow up. Hey, it was great to meet you. Have a conversation back and forth. Hey, come to this event. Boom, we got another touch. How do you get them out to the event? I don't know what they said in the last workshop, but don't trust Facebook replies. As a former community organizer, I told my staff, expect 10 to 25% of the people who actually say they're coming to your Facebook event to come. So how do we get people there? We got to actually reach out. And our state and local parties should be maintaining the infrastructure to do that. So I'm going to start my big data dump, where I'm going to fly through some stuff, and I'll try to stop, but I'll also be keeping my eye on the clock. And there may come a point where I'm like, I got to move to the next thing, and we can talk offline. But to start this off, I want to talk about how we do our work in this party. Day-to-day is email lists. Raise your hand if you hate email lists, because I do. Raise your hand if you don't get the goddamn emails from the email lists. I mean, I sent something to our Illinois Green Party Coordinating Committee, our agenda for our meeting, 2 weeks ago. It still hasn't pinged into my inbox. It's lost in the world of Yahoo somewhere. GPUS uses Pair. Half the time, I'm only getting half of the media committee's emails. I go into my junk and there's the other half. How is this email system working that it's actually slipped, some of it's spamming and some of it's coming in, and I've got the email address marked as good. So so for day to day, we're using email lists, and they're inefficient, they're dehumanizing, they're not linear in their communication. They encourage people to write novels where we talk about 8 different topics and there's no clarity. So then when I was on the steering committee, I often felt like I killed conversations because I'm a working class person. And when there was 20 emails on a topic, while I was in class at school with my kids, I can't reply. So I would come back and reply to every single point and write 4 damn pages, and then no one would reply because the conversation was done, because it's a non-linear conversation. It's happening in parallel and not to each other. For state and national, we also use conference calls. And I don't think conference calls are going to go away. I would really love to see us become way more efficient in our offline work. Because with the steering committee nationally, we're talking 3-4 hour calls. And it's just oppressive. And they're audio. Audio only. No stimulation. I'll be honest, I spent most of my time on GPUS calls with a guitar in my hand and my phone muted. I was listening, I was engaged, but it gave me the opportunity to drift. You put me on a video call, I can't do that. I have to pay attention to you. So the conference call medium encourages us to disconnect from our work. And then locals we do in person. We should always be doing in person, and hopefully some of these tools can help us. So I'm going to start with project management. This is the replacement to your email lists. I can say the Illinois Green Party just moved to Basecamp literally last weekend. Okay, so what project management services are? They're platforms for project and team management, exactly like it sounds like. You can assign tasks, you can assign deadlines, you can have chat, you can have message boards, you can have calendars, and they're all in one space. I don't have to go from my email address to my Google Calendar to my Google Drive. It's all in the one space. The benefit is you have a single distraction-free work environment. When the Youth Caucus decided to go to Basecamp, we weren't using email lists, we were using Facebook, because we were all on there. And I gotta tell you this, Facebook is the worst medium for organizing you could use. Facebook chats aren't searchable, they are just a hot mess of constant stream of activity, and then guess what? It's 2 in the morning, and we're all joking around, and we're being a little silly, and the important thing is now 200 messages up, because we had a gift party. We just started sending memes to each other, because it's also a social place. And Facebook conditions us to do that. Most of these have to-do lists where you can assign clear deadlines and you can manage multiple teams. So with a state party, not everybody needs to be involved in everything. With a campaign, some people you're intentionally isolating. You don't want to give volunteers full access to something. You don't want them getting distracted by other people's work. And they can provide multiple mediums for communication. So I'm going to try to offer multiple tools. Sometimes they're conflicting. Sometimes they can be, they can work well together. In this case, they're all different. Okay, you don't need all 4 of these. That would be redundant. So I've put up here Basecamp, Discord, Lumio, and Freedcamp. Okay, Basecamp.
What is it? The next one?
Freedcamp. Freedcamp. And so what Freedcamp is, we've got Basecamp here. I love Basecamp. So in Basecamp, you've got a bunch of boxes. One box is my Illinois Green Party Executive Committee. When I open it, I've got a chat, I've got message boards, I've got to-do lists, I've got calendars, I've got events. I can have reminders. On the first Sunday of every month, every Illinois Green Party exec member gets a message that says, hey, remember there's a call tonight, and a link to the agenda. And that happens automatically for me. So it saves me, the Illinois Green Party Secretary, some work because I can automate it. It's got desktop, it's got mobile, it's got browsers. It's got browser and email support. This is one big reason why I like Basecamp. For those of you that like and are comfortable with email, every post on Basecamp can come to you in an email and you can reply an email. It can be used exactly like listserv. Okay? I'm going to jump to Freedcamp since we asked. Freedcamp is what it sounds like. The problem with Basecamp is it's expensive. It's $1,000 a year or $99 a month. The benefit of that is I can add 1 million people into my Basecamp and see no cost increase. Whereas opposed when we go to something like Lumio, you start getting into per users when you get up to higher levels. Freedcamp took a lot of this stuff and made it free. It's a relatively nice system, but what I found when I used it, I started needing the paid add-ons. And the cool thing is they do have built-in CRM. So Freedcamp could replace Nation Builder for us in terms of our back end. But that's a big jump. That's a bigger jump than what I'm talking about, which is something like no more National Committee email list, move them to Basecamp. Discord is another free option. Discord is largely used in gaming.
Also means no more voting software.
Yeah. Lumia, yeah. So they have there's voting options as well. Discord, is a pretty simple one. It's largely used in the gaming community and the coding community. So coders really like it because they can post their code and other people can access it. So it's good for collaboration. But the reality is it's kind of a glorified chat box. It's a powerful one. You can do voice chats and things like that. But it is lacking check-ins and to-do lists and things like that, which is what you get when you go with something free. You're gonna lose functionality and you're gonna lose user-friendliness. Lumio is one I really want to get more into. I think Lumio could be really cool and really powerful. I've just never seen it used at a scale. I've only used it at small scale. But Lumio has got calendars, it's got scheduling. The thing I really love, you can vote in Lumio. It's got simple polls, it's got dot voting. You can run proposals, much like we do on the voting system. So Lumio, and the big one, it's open source. So if you've got a coder, they can customize it for you. And that is kind of a thing that I'm waiting for someone in the party to do so I can go, let me see it. Give me user access. Like, I promise I won't vote. I just want to see it running. So that's one of those things. It's a great idea, and I've just never seen it. And I know Texas uses it too.
Well, I know Basecamp is based on their own server, right?
Yes.
Okay. Discord also?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. So if Lumio is open source, can you run it on your own server?
I believe you could host it.
You can host it?
Yeah.
What, and FreeCamp?
FreeCamp's their own as well.
They're what?
They host your stuff as well.
They hold you, okay.
And what I will,
You couldn't host it yourself?
not that I know of.
Okay.
And what I will say is encrypted, encrypted, encrypted. And you own your data. So that's another big plus. These are encrypted spaces. These are spaces that, have a level of protection that we're not necessarily getting from I'd assume that my Yahoo group that won't actually pass emails through also isn't encrypted. So anyone could hack in and see it. So this project management stuff is kind of a replacement for your email lists. It's how you can do day-to-day organizing more effectively. So anyone have any broad questions? And I'd also say I'm happy to get with people offline. I can let you peek in my Basecamp, things like that, and get a little more detail than we're going to have time in the hour.
How does this do for disability accessibility?
So I know the Lavender Caucus just left Basecamp because they had David Gary is blind and he was having issues. When I said, did you talk to Basecamp? Because when I have problems, like one day I couldn't log in and I emailed them and what they found out was, we only tested on our new phones. We didn't test on someone's iPhone SE, we didn't test on someone's 6-year-old phone. And they found out their new update broke it for old phones and they had it fixed within days. So they're very responsive. I also think in terms of Basecamp, that email functionality is probably a door to that. So you may not be able to get into the internal software, but I would imagine that doing the email responses and the email notifications would allow you to have that kind of functionality. Anything?
Do you know about the other ones?
I don't. Discord I used when I was a member of Redneck Revolt. I've messed with Lumio a little, and then FreeCamp, I'll be honest, I tried it for the Illinois Green Party and I wasn't a fan. But it is still, for free, an incredible tool. I didn't personally like it, but for free, it's worth downloading. It's worth trying and failing. You know what I mean? With no investment, all you're losing is a couple weeks of your time if you don't like it.
The Black Caucus uses Flock.
That's on the next one.
That's on the next one? I thought it said Discord, and I thought, because I was thinking between Discord and Flock.
Mm-hmm. So, chat, email, and text. Real-time communication, much like a Facebook chat, but better organized. They can give you channels and threads. They can let you share documents and ideas, and their big thing they push is that they integrate with everything. If you have Basecamp, you don't really need any of these because it's powerful enough in its communication systems that they can take care of your day-to-day chats. So I've got 3 up here. These 2 are the competitors, Slack and Flock. Signal I'm throwing on here for a whole other reason. Encrypted messaging. WhatsApp is another one that's popular for encrypted messaging. But when I lose my password to something on gp.org, I email David Doonan and he signals me my password. It's literally just a text messaging app, but it's fully end-to-end encrypted. My phone encrypts it before it leaves Signal, and it doesn't get unencrypted until it enters your phone. So Google, Apple, the NSA, whoever you think's spying on you might be catching your stuff in the middle. They're catching jumbled letters.
Apple messages are encrypted end to end also.
That's true.
That's okay.
But I'm a little worried about when I text someone something and then I start getting ads for it, because Apple's still reading our stuff, and they say they're still reading our stuff.
I don't agree.
Okay. Well, you can use your Apple text if you think that's safe.
Between Apple things, it's encrypted.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if you're texting someone with an Android, now you're out. So now you need a service. So that's just kind of an informational one. Me and my wife send grocery lists over Signal just because we like Signal better. It also does encrypted calling, which is really nice. If you're at a protest, you can call someone encrypted.
There's also a thing called, I think it's called Rocket Chat.
There's a million of them.
It's a open source version of Slack that you can run on your own server.
And this is run by Whisper Systems, which is a well-respected privacy organization. So these 2 are another solution to your day-to-day. Does the Black Caucus use email still?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you use both.
I mean, we use, Flock, the channels are emails too.
Yeah.
Mailcast, so.
Okay, so you're just using Flock and people can use it via email.
Email, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you're not maintaining a separate list.
No. No.
So Slack and Flock are basically souped up Facebook chats.
Mm-hmm.
As you can see, they're both per user, which is why I push Basecamp so hard. If you get 20 people, you might as well pay Basecamp because you're going to be spending more than $1,000 a year anyway. Okay, but they're both group messaging and communication management apps. They give you channels, so you can have a exec channel, you can have a CC channel, you can have a fundraising channel, you can have a volunteer channel, all your locals can have your channel. You can give, and because we're talking about parties giving resources, if the party has this, the party can now give your campaign a channel. So now they can talk. The Jill Stein campaign used Slack. And right now the Howie Hawkins campaign is on Flock. And the main reason for that is that it gives us things like to-do lists, where literally when I'm typing something, and if it thinks that I'm talking about something that needs to be assigned to someone, like update this page on the website, it'll pop up and say, you want to make that a task? You click it, assign it, you can put a date. They both have free versions. The downside of the free version, largely, is after 10,000 messages, things start getting deleted. So you lose that backward searchability. You can always search your last 10,000 message, and it's not even deleted because if you pay, they come back. They just hide them to you to entice you into paying. So if you don't care about losing your messages,
Or if it's important, use the emails.
it's important to use the emails. And one thing, people, when I talk to people about this, they're like, oh, 10,000, awesome, we get like a year out of this. No, in the Howie campaign, we hit it in about 10 days. Because if you're doing serious work, when I respond yeah to a question, that's one. You know, I probably shouldn't have said yeah, I probably should have reacted thumbs up rather than waste it. But, so these are two similar programs to help you have more efficient communication in your party and in your campaigns. And when we have these things, not only do they help us with our campaigns, if the Young Eco-Socialists were to endorse a movement, we could in theory provide spaces. You know, so when we're engaging with our community, when you run into those rent control people and they're organizing on Facebook and it's a hot mess, you can say, hey, can the Green Party help you out here? Can we give you a space in which you can organize more efficiently? Okay, so that, you know, that's the big part of these. Any questions on these?
Now, lucky for us, I got in Flock way at the beginning. So, with all the 50 channels for all 50 states, and being able to assign administrators to each channel, and all these paid features, we're locked into that. So, even though we have the free version,
Grandfathered into the nice stuff.
right, we grandfathered into the nice stuff. The only problem is that now I can't change admins for each state now, but it's cool because we're like not paying for some stuff we got. So we're fine with Flock.
And I really like Flock.
Mhm.
You know, when I made my suggestions to the campaign, I said, Basecamp's the best, but Flock's what we should be using right now. Because on day one, you pay $1,000. Not knowing if you're going to use it when you can start for free. We're actually in a conversation right now about moving to Basecamp. So next up is video and streaming. Yeah.
Hey, Matt, it looks like there's a message on the phone. I'm not sure if it's still streaming here.
I bet it died. Nope, low battery.
Yeah, that's what mine just did. So.
Luckily, prepared.
Electrical outlets on this table.
So video and streaming. For your local, this isn't necessarily as important. For your local campaign, it's not that you can't use it. It's not that there's, no purpose for it. But this is much more geared towards your state party. So like I said, when I was on national conference calls, I had a guitar in my hand, or I was doing something else. I was paying attention, I was engaged, but I was also multitasking. When I do Young Eco-Socialist calls, when I do merchandise committee calls, I gotta be attentive because I'm on video. And it also makes it more humanizing. I see you. You're not just some disembodied voice that I don't know. I see you. I see you there. So these video and streaming services are really good for alternatives to conference calls. I highly recommend anyone still using conference calls switch over to video chats. I find them to be much more engaging and much more bringing us together. And it also, I know the freeconferencecall.com thing that we were using, I know I could get on the computer and log in and see screen shares, but I didn't because I was calling in. Why do I then need to eat up space on my computer? Here, I'm on the video, and when I click screen share on my end, you see it. So it's also kind of forcing people to engage with the features and forcing us to use it. It's great for live streaming. I don't know if Dave covered using Zoom at all or anything like that, but it's great for your live streaming to Facebook. Great for doing interviews, remote and collaborative meetings. Like I said, it facilitates a kind of virtual face-to-face that is a much better form of communication. You get sidebar chats. So in the Youth Caucus education calls, you'll often hear, a speaker say something, and while they're continuing on, members are talking about, that thing they just said. And so it allows a sidebar, it allows this tangent. Some of these even allow you to pull people out into a separate green room to help with things or to break off into breakout sessions. And most of them allow phone. So Zoom, I think you have to pay extra for someone to be able to call, not anymore. Basecamp, Blue Jeans, it's built in. So you can still use the phone. People aren't being forced into the new technology, they can still use it. I will tell you this, it drives me crazy when you call in on your phone because the audio quality is horrible and no one can hear you, and you're causing reverberation echoes that are driving everyone crazy with your speakerphone.
On Zoom?
Huh? No, if you take your phone out and you're calling in on a cell phone. So when I used to do interviews for a podcast, I always told people, I'm not going to interview if you're phoning in because the audio quality is so bad compared to coming in over Wi-Fi. So 3 ones here. Honestly, the difference between Blue Jeans and Zoom is personal preference. They're in the same kind of boat in terms of pricing. Most green parties using it, you're gonna end up paying for Zoom because you have a 40-minute limit on your group calls on the free plan. So unless you are a really efficient local, and I mean they put up a clock and it hits 40 minutes and they end the call. Why? To get that $15 a month. But in reality, $15 a month isn't bad. Both of them offer screen sharing, both of them have chat features and integrated events, and both of them allow you to stream to social media. So the Youth Caucus uses Blue Jeans. That was literally just the preference of using the two of the person who made the decision. But if I want a Facebook Live, I click a button, I type my post, and I tell it when to start. So it can do, and when I do that, it also gives me access to multiple people on screen, dealing with my layouts, screen sharing, things that you can't do innately through Facebook Live, and it allows me to use my computer. At least last time I tried, I could only stream through a mobile device on Facebook. I could not use my PC to do a live stream. They may have changed that, I haven't tried it for a while.
When you say 40 minutes, you mean per session?
Per session.
And does it limit you in terms of the number of sessions?
No.
Per month?
No. So if you're only having short calls, you can get by with free, and one-on-one, you can have unlimited length Zoom calls one-on-one for the free. So if you're just using it to talk to one person, you're fine. But the second you add that second person, you're getting a limitation. And then I kept Google Hangouts on here because it's free, and we all have a Gmail. Not all of us, but most people have a Gmail. They're easy to create, and they can also do Google Hangouts on air, which live streams automatically to YouTube. I will say one thing about Google Hangouts. It has the best control room I've found out of any of them. Ease of locking people on screen, controlling volumes, they all let you mute people and things like that. But I was really impressed when I used to use it, how advanced their control room was for a free software. The problem with the free software, like all Google products, you have a problem with Google Hangouts, sorry, unless you're spending tens of thousands of dollars on ads or G Suite, there's no customer service. Whereas Blue Jeans in particular, because it's what I use most of the time, has very responsive customer service and helping me figure things out. But like I said, these can be used to replace your conference calls, but they can also be used to do your candidates' Facebook Lives, to do interviews, to Skype people into your meetings. And for $15 a month-ish for both, I would recommend every state party have these because they're a powerful tool to help connect people.
Well, what I did with Free Conference Call, which I'm glad Holly and Hillary started doing that more, and I'm telling people Free Conference Call has mobile apps, and you can still video call. You can still use your phone to video call in a free conference call. It doesn't have to be, you have to call in, and make sure when you're sharing your free conference call information to put the link in, not just the phone number and the PIN.
Yep.
There's a link that you can, and if you click on it and you have that app installed on your phone, it will open or ask you to open in the My Conference Call app, not just open in your Google Chrome browser. So that's very important because that's a feature that Zoom and BlueJean have, but Free Conference Call had to step it up a bit and compete with that area. So they are, you know, you still should video. I do recommend video calling more if you can. Even if you have Free Conference Call, you can video.
You can make it happen.
You can
Yep.
make it happen with Free Conference Calls.
So, one of the things that I did for my CCC call was dig into Nation Builder a little. Because the truth, I will be open, I am team dump Nation Builder. It's expensive, its websites are ugly, its back end is clunky. The Green Party across I believe the number I heard last was Green parties spend $50,000 a year on Nation Builder. The Green Party of the United States is spending, I believe, thousands a month. And guess what? We can't even fit all of our lists. We have to cycle them out because you're limited in your pay and how much you pay with how many people you have that you can email and contact. So Nation Builder is incredibly expensive. I am a big advocate of getting something new. The problem is that means for a while we're gonna have to pay for two things. You know, we're gonna have to keep holding Nation Builder up while we build the new thing, and as a resource poor party, that's hard. Also, it's hard to get people to change what they're used to. But since we're using Nation Builder in a lot of our state parties and in the national party, there's some really cool things that are in there that we're underusing. So paths, they exist in your people section, and they're used to track interactions. So I actually know the Black Caucus has the only path and goal set up in the National Nation Builder, and it's about getting new members. What I can tell too is that no one's looking and updating the path.
I know.
But they're
That's
there.
right.
Somebody tried. I mean,
Texas uses it.
yeah, and it's great because, you know, so you get a sign-up form. That can then notify someone who then does the outreach on something else. It can send an automatic email about, thanks for signing up, can you sign our vote pledge? It can give you step by step, this has happened, this should happen next, and it automates it for you on the back end. So you get a volunteer, it automatically assigns that to a volunteer coordinator. When that person says, oh, they've become a graphic design volunteer, that coordinator doesn't need to talk to them anymore. They click that, they send them to the next step of the path, and now they're listed as a graphic design coordinator, and the graphic design whoever's doing that now gets a notification that they're theirs. And you can move it along, donate, volunteer, that thing. And each step can be assigned to different team members. So paths are a really cool way to actually visualize our workflow. Because a lot of times, you get someone and what do you do now? Who's the person I contact for this? This takes all of that out. They're gonna do this, send them to the next step. Another one is auto tagging filters. It's exactly what it sounds like. You sign up you build specific forms, you sign up, you click this box. Oh, they click ballot access, it'll automatically tag them ballot access and notify the ballot access team. Oh, they tag media, it'll automatically tag them. And so you can set it up so depending on where they come in or how they interact with the form on our website, it can then automatically move them to the right step, tag them so they're searchable. So like if you sign a petition, if you signed the GPUS petition for HR1, opposing HR1 and its attack on third parties, what will happen is next to your name you're gonna have a bunch of tags, and now one of them's HR1 because we'd set it up automatically to read that you filled out that petition, go there, and so now when HR1 raises its ugly head again, we can get into the system, HR1, who's all the people, send them another mobilization email. And then another one, turf cut and map view. Has anybody used VAN? The NGP VAN, the Democrat system? I worked for a community organization in 2012 that used the VAN, and and I definitely did not download the VAN when I left. But so I definitely don't have that list anywhere in my house. But the VAN is a powerful system.
Oh yeah.
And the where the VAN has kind of advantage over what we would do with the turf cut is that they've got millions of dollars to source data. So I can say I want to canvass people in this district that in any neighborhood that's over 70% favorability, and it'll create walk lists and maps for me. Nation Builder can do that too. You can pull up what looks like a Google map, and you can draw out, I want to walk this neighborhood, and it'll pull up all your contacts, and it'll create your walk lists. So you can cut turf and create regions and areas, and you can create walk sheets with Nation Builder. The barrier for most greens is we don't have the necessary data. And we don't have in-depth voter lists like the Democrats do. I mean, they spend millions of dollars. Once they download those state voter lists, they spend millions of dollars appending them to get your job, to get this, to get that, to start marking you off. Ooh, they voted in this election, in this election, in this election, in this election, in this. Ooh, but they didn't vote in 2016. I wonder why. And so that's our barrier with turf cutting. But small local campaigns, if you're running coordinated candidates, if you're running campaigns that are really having metrics, doors knocked and contacts made and that sort of thing, and you're actually going to the work of logging them in Nation Builder, we could build really strong databases that would actually make turf cut something we would care about.
So, what exactly, I'm not familiar with the term turf cut.
Turf is like, so, I've got the city of Chicago. I can go in and I can draw ward-based lines, and then Nation Builder will populate everyone within that. And so then let's say the 30th ward,
I understand.
based on who's in our list.
I don't understand how I would do that
Huh?
on Nation Builder.
Well, we can talk about that. Those are the
Okay.
deep dives that I can't take because
Okay.
that's a whole session on its own.
I mean,
But it's relative. If you search turf cut on Nation Builder, they've got the videos, and Nation Builder has a really good education section.
so if I could look up the turf cut and I would find a video about it.
Yep. And like I said, turf cut's only going to work as good as your list. So if you've got an empty list, what do you need? But if I had real good, and in Illinois we don't register by party, so buying a voter list is absolutely useless to me. It gives me millions of names and addresses with no other information, no party affiliation. But if we did register by party, that would be really powerful for us in Chicago. Because when someone emails my secretary account and says, hey, I'm in the 30th ward and I'm going to get involved in the party, I can send them a list of everyone else who's in their ward. I can cut them turf that will actually map out how they should walk it efficiently. So if we really put our time into these databases, and we don't, and I will say we don't because we're all volunteers, and the volunteers that are doing work are overloaded. I mean, database update is never going to, deduplication is a big one too, having multiple people in the same list and then we're paying for them both. When's that going to float to the top? I mean, you saw how many things we're doing and how many things most people who are active in the party are doing. When's that going to float to the top? It's not. We need volunteers for it. But if we can get our lists in good shape, Nation Builder can be incredibly powerful. And then there's a couple add-ons, and these are turf specific. Okay, these are Handy Nation and eCanvasser. Handy Nation is pretty affordable. I mean, you can have 20,000 people in your Handy Nation for $15 a month. And what it lets you do is it lets you pull up your phone and say, who's near me? Oh, as you're about to knock on somebody's door, you can actually pull up everything we have on the Nation. It gives, you don't need a clipboard anymore. It can be on a tablet, it can be on a phone, and then after you talk to them, you can go sit in your car for a second and enter notes and enter data. Okay, it can create walk maps. It can do nearby people, which is cool. You can be at the door and you're interested. Oh, you want to donate? Boom, give me your info and it'll take it. You don't have to go to a separate site. You don't have to go through any other services that you're paying fees. It'll go donation straight into Nation Builder and you pay your normal fee. And it gives you great analytics.
This is not a third-party thing, this is.
Handy Nation is Nation Builder's mobile app. So Nation, that is a built-in one. eCanvasser does a lot of the same things. And the reason it's so much more expensive is because it's a lot more powerful. It can have scripts where you assign scripts to certain tags. And so if I'm going door to door and let's say we did like a petition about about issues, it will actually pull up, like as I come up, okay, this person clicked that, water was their biggest, the lead in the water was their biggest issue. Here's a special script just for that issue. Oh, they clicked these through. Now we're combining these two scripts. So it can help your canvassers, who might not be as experienced. It can give a lot more tools to your canvassers in terms who might not be as experienced or, tuned into that stuff. And it can also, it's really good for relationship and follow-up management. Who talked to them last? When did they do? Well, you can leave the house and you can set a notification and a date to come back. Or you can say, ooh, that was a really good talk, but Dave should be the one talking to them. Like, they were asking questions that's out of my league, that's Dave's issue. Dave should be the one talking to them, and I can assign that and Dave will be notified. So, for most greens, this is where we're at. Handy Nation is where we're at. But, if we're looking at, if I'm thinking somewhere like the LA County, where Rodolfo Cortez Barragan and Kenneth were running, and now it's Rodolfo and Chanel Pittman, and then they have kind of surrounded their congressional races with state and local races to support them. They might be running a walk and canvas system that could want this. For me in Springfield, Illinois, I'm never gonna leave. I'm not my area size and population isn't gonna bring me above needing this. But there are some areas where this more powerful tool might be a way to go.
So does the Handy Nation, does that include like independent voters?
So it all depends on what's in your list.
Oh, okay.
And I will say Nation Builder can help you with that. They're gonna charge you an arm and a leg, but they can get you that data. Just like most, they can get you that data, and you can talk to them about appending. And I can say there are appending services where you can say, oh, I've got an email, or I've got a name and an address and a phone number. Can you get me the email? And you pay a per, email fee, and you feel a little sleazy about it. But these kind of things can't build those lists for you. They can only do with what you have in your list already. I'm way behind. So when I said I'm anti-Nation Builder, this is where I think we go. Civi CRM. It's open. It's web-based. It does contact management. It does emails. It does donations. It does events. It does reports. It is free, except for your hosting. Here's the problem. You gotta know how to code. You gotta know how to put things together.
It is so buggy, and it always changes because they're having these code parties, and
Well, that's the thing.
QA is
And that's why you need a coder, because the thing is, you should be hosting this on your own. So when they go and mess with things, yours is the same, because you're on your own host and you're isolated. But as I put here in all caps, it has a steep learning curve. It's not really user-friendly. To get all these features, you've got to understand how to integrate with your MailChimp. You've got to understand how to integrate with your Google Calendar. You've got to understand how to integrate with your payment processor. So it's a lot. But my long-term goal is that the party puts away 50 grand maybe to start off and builds this, because we could build an amazing database system for the Green Party that lives and it's owned by us, and we're not, captive to Nation Builder anymore.
I do have Civi Mobile installed finally.
And it has mobile and all that.
It does. We finally made a mobile extension, and it's getting there. I mean, for me, I like the fact that having the access of the entire database in my hand, and I know I at least got about 6,000 Ohio Greens in that database, but I'm not gonna put 60,000 contacts in my Google contact list, so I can just pull up like, dang, what's Anita Rios' address? So I was able to just pull that up with Civi Mobile. You know.
In Illinois, we have a group called PEC-PAC. It's the Progressive Electoral Action Committee. It is formed by a Green and a DSA member. They actually did buy those massive Illinois data voter lists, and they put it all into Civi, and they're getting it to be able to run reports. And actually, their goal is to be able to offer it as a free database for issue campaigns and socialist, left-leaning, non-democratic aligned campaigns. So they are building something with some members in Illinois. Yeah.
What about the Rise Up Collective? I don't know how much of this they can do, but I think it's a very good left-wing organization that's trustworthy. And in my local county, we have over 3,000 on our list, and we're using Rise Up because the volunteer who'd been running it wanted to switch to some system that was gonna cost us, I think, $50 a month, and I'm like, wait a minute, Rise Up is free or by donation. So we applied and got a Rise Up account.
I don't know anything about Rise Up, so that's a new name to me.
It's a long-established worker collective. You have to apply. They're anarchists, and you have to apply. They only do work for radicals and far left-wing organizations. But
they could do the coding for us, is what they could do.
Well, see, I don't know how much of this they do. We just use them for our announcement list, email announcements to over 3,000 people several times a month. But I don't know how much else.
Yeah, so it's like a free MailChimp.
Yeah, if
a
you
free
go to
constant contact.
riseup.net, they do web hosting. I know that, but.
I think they do Google Doc type stuff too, like shared doc.
Yeah.
But they hosted Julian Assange, and so I think they're encrypted.
Yeah. Yeah, Civi CRM's encrypted and all that too. So these two are two totally different things. But I think that this one especially is really important. You know when you see that Facebook post or get that email that says click here to call your representative? That's what do-gooder does. One-click calls. GPUS uses it or emails. GPUS uses it for petition, and we use it, yes, it is a form of digital engagement and activism that they can call. What it really does is build our lists and tell us what that person is interested in. So for $40 a month, you get a couple campaigns that you can run at any time. So we had a congressional candidate in 2018 who was really into hydrogen trains for regional light rail throughout southern Illinois, connecting southern Illinois to St. Louis, which is not connected by rail. Chicago and southern Illinois are connected, but it's disconnected there, and the rails are there, but there's no passenger service. So this was one of the key, and he's been working on it for a decade before his campaign, and he'll be working on it a decade after. And so he got a do-gooder to allow people, and the purpose that he's thinking about it for is that as he goes city to city and tries to get people passing resolutions to it, he can use it not only to call your senator, but to call your local reps, to call your city council member. I've yet to abuse it, but you can literally put in the phone number or the email of who you want to have people call. Somebody's going to piss off the youth caucus, and they're just going to get a bunch of calls out of our petty. But we haven't done it yet. And then Caring Sense is more of a party thing. Jill used it. There's two kinds of things in it. There's Rally Give, and there's Swipe Up. Jill used Swipe Up. So round your purchase up on your credit card to the nearest dollar. That's what that does. Microtransactions, real small numbers. And then Rally Give is small donations, micro donations attached to trackable goals. And we tried this in the National Party where we tried to every time Trump tweets about this, you'll donate a quarter. And it brought in a little money. We bring in about $300 a month through the Swipe Up in the National Party. Nothing big, but we'll take it. It's money. But one thing I thought about in talking with Michael Dennis about campaigns and Rally Give, petitioning. People can pay you per petition. You can fund yourself as you succeed, or doors knocked. Every 1,000 doors we knocked, you'll give us $10. And it allows people to get updates, it allows people to be engaged, and it allows people to give you support in a different way. And you can limit your numbers. So you can say max of $20 a month or something like that.
On a number of those, they ask you to contribute, and then they say, $4.25 on top of that, as a tip. Are these things also putting a surcharge on any donations?
I don't believe so. I believe they take them from us. So if you give us $20, we're going to pay their fees, because there are fees. No one's going to process your process your donation for free. But they're not going to. As far as I know, I've never seen them ask. When I don't do I don't do the swipe up. I've never done it. But I did sign up for the Rally Give as a test. And there was nothing like that. It was just every month we'll tell you how much money we need to take out, and based on this, and whether you hit your max.
Yeah, swipe up doesn't.
Yeah. Huh?
Or in New Jersey uses
Swipe up.
gallons.
Yeah, I don't believe they ask for any of that stuff. Yeah.
So it says contact for pricing. Do you have any idea?
It's about capacity.
Okay.
So you're gonna get worse rates the less money you bring in, which is normal in the financial sector. So that's something you could talk to them about. I mean, I know it took a while for the National Party to really get it figured out and running. So a couple quick administrative stuff. I'm gonna jump forward. So Fresh Desk. If you're like most parties, you have dozens of emails. You have emails that you don't even know exist. As an incoming secretary, I'm getting emails from things, and I'm like, wait, we have an outreach at ilgp.org. Nobody told me we had this. Somebody set it up years ago, and then they forgot about it. But now I just got an email from it, forwarded from it. Fresh Desk brings all of that. It can bring your social media in, and it brings it all into one space. You can assign teams, you can assign tasks, you can make notes. So it's basically a back-end administrative system. So when you go in, you'll see all they call them tickets, like customer service. You'll see all your open tickets, and I'll go through and go, ooh, that's CCC assigned to Aaron Fox. Ooh, that's Youth Caucus assigned to Chanel. Oh, that's merchandise assigned to me. And you can also set it up so anything that comes to merch email automatically assigns. But that also stops if me and Dave are both getting merch at gpus.org emails. Now we're not both responding, because I go I got that email, and I log into Fresh Desk and I say, oh, Dave responded, or Dave put a note that was like, "Ooh, stay away from this person." I responded, and that was not good, because we get hate mail through the merchandise committee, of course, through the store. Another thing it can do that is really cool is, when you go to those websites and there's the little chat bubble at the bottom that says "Help Us," that can all be integrated. So that can be used through Fresh Desk as well, as can your social media. When someone comments on your social media, it can ping someone on your social media team and they can respond. And so it can bring all of these, and the nice thing about that is, if somebody comments on our Facebook page, I get a Facebook page notification. But this puts my Facebook, my Twitter, my Instagram, my whatever else I have. Apparently we're supposed to have Pinterests and Twitches now, but it puts it all in there. And it really takes the widespread communication systems that we have in this party and puts them into one spot. Hootsuite is the same thing, but for social media. Hootsuite can be visually overwhelming. It can be a lot, but its planner feature is really nice. So if I were to pull up the Hawkins campaign's Hootsuite, you'd see weeks of planned posts. I've gone through and I've looked at what days are good for, what days and what times are good for donations, and I've already got the donation post up a month away, because now I don't have to worry about it. And that's the big thing for me with Hootsuite. If we're shooting from the hip, we're not shooting accurately or effectively. So if you are constantly scrambling with your social media to figure out what's going on and, oh shit, did I post something today or not? Every Sunday I go through and I just start scheduling. And now I don't have to worry about it. And now when something comes up, when the governor of Puerto Rico resigns, I can focus on that and not say, oh, but did we send that ballot access post out tonight? Did that go out today, or am I gonna cancel it? Or, it's up, it's ready to go, and I don't even have to think about it. And scheduling your posts, and it lets you do all of them in one space. I can click new posts, and I can say, post this to my Twitter, post this to my Facebook, post this to my Instagram, type it out, hit enter. It'll schedule across all platforms at the same time. Call Hub I talked about. Every state party needs Call Hub. Every single, or a version of something like it. We gotta be using it. Most of the time in a Green Party, if you get asked to make calls, you get handed a spreadsheet. Maybe you make notes. I gotta tell you, those notes probably aren't gonna get transferred into Nation Builder. Those notes are gonna be for you, and they're probably not gonna be turned into any kind of institutional data. So it's a call text center management. You sign up, you load it with money, and you just start going. They just raised their prices, so I'm off on, my numbers that I used to cite are off. Their prices are still really reasonable, like 3 cents per text message. It's a similar area for, I think it's like 1.6 cents per 30 seconds of calling. They can do robocalls, they can do auto dialers and patch throughs. They integrate with our Nation Builder. So you can say, I want to call everyone with this tag, and it'll populate your call list. That Nation Builder integration goes back the other way too. Your notes on this person get integrated into Nation Builder and are ready for the next person. They are FEC and FCC compliant, which is really important to us. And they allow you to have a contact history and notes, and they're browser based, so you don't have to download anything. When you want to be involved in a Call Hub call session, you go to the website that you get, and it'll pull your script up. It'll have your things. You can click call and it'll go. Allow you to take your notes. And this one I mentioned it at the beginning, but when we talk about what we can offer as a resource, again, I would take thousands of text messages. I want to say before the price increase, I could get 6,000 text messages for $100. 6,000. I would rather, in a campaign, be given 6,000 text messages than $100, which I'm probably going to spend on yard signs, which data shows only make the people who got them happy. They don't really get us new people. They make present supporters feel like they got something for their support. So Call Hub is another one of those resources that when a candidate comes to you and says, what do I get for running as a Green? You get access to our lists. You get access to website help. You get access to volunteer call centers. When we're engaging with, when your local engages with Extinction Rebellion, and they're going to have a big mass protest and direct action, say, you got lists? Because we can start making calls. These are things that we can offer. When ranked choice voting is coming up through your legislature, I don't have do-gooder on here, but you can text through mass text through Call Hub a link that will let them immediately call their legislator and say, please vote for this. You need to support this. So this is, Call Hub is a big resource that we can offer as a party. So, like I said, this is the 4th time I've done this. This is a fraction of the number of things that I've put out, or that I've talked about in this. In the campaign ones, I got into fundraising. In the Youth Caucus one, I got into web design. In the Youth Caucus one, I got into voting systems, into democracy systems. Okay, how are you all doing at your state party? How's your vote being calculated? Is it some dude in the back doing RCV math? Because you could use OPA Vote or Election Buddy, and it'll produce it like that, and it'll allow mail-in ballots, it'll allow email ballots, and it'll allow encryption. It'll actually allow you to do online, because in 2016, the Illinois Green Party's presidential selection process was a Google form. a Google form. It worked. It worked. It did. But we could have spent $20 and had an encrypted voting system that has no question of whether or not the person that had access to that form was messing with things. So, I've got lists in here. So I've done these before. Bitly was on another one. Bitly, you know how my local was the Sangamo Valley Green Party, which we shortened to Sangamo Greens. But when you got that long website, Bitly gets it short for you. And it's a free service. You go in, you copy your website. Short CM is another one that's really good.
The GP.org would be real nice.
Yeah, I really tried to get h2o.us, and then we would do our own short links, but it was taken. They wanted like $2,000 for it. So if you go to bit.ly/DOT-info, what you will find is a Google Drive folder. It has all of the workshop slideshows that I've done on this. So I've got to move this one in, but there'll be 4 Google slideshows in there. There will be one sheets of just a list of all of them that I've got a copy of here that I'll put out in a second. There will be more detailed printouts of all of the different sections and things like that we can do. And then the same thing, if you go to bit.ly/.dot feedback for digital organizing tools, there's a Google form there asking me, how'd you like the workshop? And do you have any tools that I'm missing? I had Michael O'Neill come on a call when I did this, and Michael had some really good suggestions like Airtable for coordinating your scheduling and stuff. And so that is there for that kind of feedback. I went a little over, but thank you very much, everybody. I'm going to grab real quick. Where are they? So here I have a list of all these different tools. And then for those of you that run campaigns, CrowdPack shut down. CrowdPack, which was really popular amongst progressives for campaign fundraising, shut down. Personally, I thought CrowdPack was unprofessional, and it told me you couldn't even set up a website or a donation thing. But people liked it. It was one click, you had your thing. Yeah, and so the Young Eco-Socialists put out a data sheet. What can you do now that it's gone? And it goes through there, and it offers some things, and it also offers a couple of suggestions about what not to touch. I had Greens coming to me and saying, okay, well, I'm going to get minivan. If you get minivan, you're giving every single contact you have directly to the Democratic Party, because the DNC owns the van.
Yeah.
I had people say, oh, well, Act Blue is really easy. If you use Act Blue, you give every single donor's information to the Democratic Party because it's owned by the DNC. And when you donate to a Democratic candidate, I want you to all look about what happens. It goes to Act Blue. Every Democratic candidate, and Act Blue is a PAC. Every Democratic candidate, including those who say they don't take PAC money, are processing all of their donations through Act Blue. And when the primary is over, guess who owns the data? When the Bernie Sanders people got mad that their data got given to Hillary, he signed a contract with Act Blue that at the end of the primary, he would give their information over. He didn't betray you. He did what he promised. Okay? And so those two in particular, I see Greens gravitating towards them because DSA just paid $150,000 to use this stuff. And guess what's in those contracts? You can't use them against Democrats in the general. So when DSA says they'll support you, they can't give you their lists. They can't give you their lists if you're challenging a Democrat. They can't process your money. They're just going to steal your money. They can't give it to you. And they signed these contracts, okay? So those, and I took it off because someone questioned me on it. Democracy Engine, which is who was behind CrowdPack. I say stay the hell away from them too, because they say they are the fundraising arm of grassroots Democrats. They're not owned by the Democrats, but that's who they're oriented towards.
Say that Act Blue, and what are the other two?
Act Blue is owned by the DNC. NGP Van, which is their version of Nation Builder, is owned by the DNC. And then Democracy Engine is not owned by the DNC, but they are heavily in the pocket of the Democratic Party. So, I'd stay away from those. And thank you very much.